started slowly swapping out to active modules. So if anyone was wondering why everyone uses armor stuff, that's basically the reason, because tie-dye is stupid. The exception to that is the crazy Russians, and they like shield stuff, but they're crazy and they're Russian, so things work for them that shouldn't work for us. Cool. Any more questions about the fitting? Just the super basic, like, this is what you put on your ship? I like how I successfully forgot to actually put my ship together. Why is this showing a graph? There we go. Come on, guys. I know people have questions. We can't just be quiet, especially when I'm trying to put my ship together.
Sorry, I'm actually still trying to buy everything and fit it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to buy. Now, the reason why we're buying so much is because in a non-mega tie-dyed situation, refitting is an extremely important thing. And yes, you can totally come along in a hull take torque wall if you want. So if you guys notice, there's a shitload of stuff on that, but a lot of the thing, you obviously don't have enough room to fit it all. So you keep this in your hull. It's going to take up a lot of space. The reason why you're doing this is because refitting a capital ship is a really important thing. It's a very valid tactic. A lot of times dreadnoughts will be dropped with a few carriers specifically for refitting. So the fit I linked is sort of your standard, like, we don't really know what we're going to be going into, so we want to be good at everything. But it's totally acceptable to, once you get on field, and let's say, like, hey, there's nobody here to shoot except for a tower. They tricked us into a POS bash, because that happens in Brave. Probably not on dreads. I'm just saying. They're probably not going to be like, we need max dreads, we got supers tackled, and you land on field, and it's like, and they're in a POS. 5 hours ago. So let's bash the POS.
So sad but true.
Hey, shit happens. But being able to refit is a really important thing. Also, with those fits that I linked, they are using, what do you call it? Meta Zero cap modules. These are kind of suicide dreads. You can spin, so basically a Meta Zero cap module is usually between 30 to 60 million ISK. If you want to drop about 180 million ISK per capital module, so that's going to be, you know, probably another 400 million plus, you can get significantly better, you can get about 10 to 15% better guns, damage, shield boosters, and armor reps. And yeah, the reason why there's multiple is because of overheating. Dreads and carriers, they actually overheat a lot better. Like, they can overheat for significantly longer than than non-capital ships can, but you'll still cause a lot of damage. And yeah, basically, your damage control is going to get burned out. I've had it happen before in combat on live, and it was spooky. But then I refit to my other one, and I was like, hey, I'm good. So, yep, you bring a bunch of redundant stuff so that when you burn your stuff out from overheating, you just replace it with new stuff and keep going.
Just try not to burn out Dead Space shield modules.
Yeah, whatever. Cool. Can I relink fits? Can somebody relink the ones that I pictured while I'm trying to fit my stupid ship? Because I'm still, like, I've gotten the high slots set up so far. And yeah, you can actually just legitimately just link your ship if you want, because that'll work too. Cool. So, next thing I'm going to talk about before we actually get to, like, refitting and all that cool stuff is implant sets. It's not necessary at all to bring implants for caps. I would highly suggest investing in some. Especially, so as a dread, definitely try and pick up a rate of fire implant. You can get 3% rate of fire implants for like a million or 10 to 15 million
25.
ISK. Is it 25?
25.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, whatever.
Still cheap though.
It's
still
cheap.
worth it.
30 million ISK on a ship, like, 3% on maybe, you know...
It's 600 extra DPS on a Dread 4
Original.
Megafar.
Stop.
Sorry.
Okay. But yeah, it's going to be 700 DPS. 3% on a ship that does, you know, 8k DPS. Kind of a big deal. Other ones to do, if you feel like dropping the money on it, mid-grade slave sets. Is there any reason... I'll do that in a second. Mid-grade slave sets are relatively cheap. Just realize that if your ship goes down and you're in a bubble, you're probably going to lose it. You can get them for about, I think, 700 mil right now. Might be a little cheaper. That's a legitimate flat 38% bonus to EHP on your ship. And I'm not kidding about that. It's really, really good. If you're ever planning on flying like super capitals or titans, you're going to have one of those. Other than that, for the carrier, there's a bunch of different little like tiny implants that help with capacitor. There's a capacitor management one, which is like 3% bonus to total capacitor. I'm using 3% as an example. You can do 5s if you want, but they're about 200 million ISK apiece. You can do the capacitor regeneration one, which is 3% bonus to cap regen. Both of those are really good. Like I said, slaves are good. I'm a fan of them. Not in the... Wow, that sounded really bad. You know what I mean. Slave set, very good. If you're willing to spend 600, 700 million ISK for it, definitely get a slave set. Know that you will lose it when you lose your ship, so it's up to you. But a slave set will let you tank a Doomsday in most capitals, which is kind of a big deal sometimes, especially in those the Slowcat Fit. Now, the Slowcat Fit I linked will actually tank a Doomsday from everything but a Ragnarok, and if you overheat your modules, it'll tank a Doomsday from every Titan in the game. One. You won't tank 2, but you'll tank 1. That's the reason why we use that fit. Dreadnoughts, if you're tanked the way that I've been linking and you have a slave set, you'll probably tank a Doomsday. Maybe not from a Ragnarok because they do pure explosive damage, but it's a good thing to have, because that's sort of the trick of a group like Pandemic Legion, is that they're able to... Every Titan they have on field can kill one of your capital ships every 10 minutes. Mind Flood's very good for carriers. If you're flying as a Dread, you need to train drug skills 100%. Carrier, not as much, but it's still helpful. But as a Dread, 100% train drug skills. You want Biology to level 3, maybe to 4 if you want to be cool. And then Neurotoxin Control and Neurotoxin something else. I don't remember what it is, like Neurotoxin Management. Both of those up to 4. Just so you know, those skill books, another 200-300 million. This shit's expensive. You'll also want, for Dreads, the drug is Drop. I don't know how easy it is to get out and catch. It's pretty easy to get like standard and strong drop. Basically what it does is it's a tracking booster. Dreads are all about tracking, seriously. But it doesn't have any... there's no... what do you call it? Diminishing returns. So it's literally... You get 30% tracking by using this drug. That's huge. Somebody asked... T2 triage module. Yes, the reason is so it reduces the cap for your mods that you use on other people, not on yourself, by 20%, which is huge because cap is love and cap is life. It also allows you to target one person extra. It also increases the speed that you target at, by the way. And I think that's it, but it's a really good thing. It really helps with your capacitor. It lets you work for
targeting range as well.
You do? Oh.
20%.
Well, there you go. I mean, you won't really need extra targeting range because you can't rep past about 50, 55, and you can easily target to like 130 on them already, but if you did, you can now target people really far away too. Cool. Questions go. I must buy more modules.
Is there a point to ever getting high-grade slaves unless you're in super?
Yeah,
Or
if you're rich.
Okay.
High-grade slave set costs about 2.7 bill right now. Last I checked, which was like a couple days ago.
With the Omega or without the Omega?
With the Omega, you can get high-grade slaves without the Omega for like 1.7, and then just plug in a mid-grade Omega and get a decent bonus. But honestly, the Omega is the thing that makes them good. So, yeah. Or you can get them on CC if you want. I mean, on CC everything's yeah. Oh yeah, the HG1. Yeah, the HG 1008. It's an 8% armor bonus. That's another like bill plus thing. I don't remember how much. I think it's like 1.1 or 1.2. Again, it's one of those like people get them for their supers because the ship is so expensive.
There's also like a 2 bill rate of fire implant for that works on dreads too, but
Yeah.
really,
There's a bunch of super crazy expensive implants that you can get if you want, but you know, they're absolutely not mandatory for anything ever. Like, nobody gets them at all for dreadnoughts. If you want to be a maximum, you know, CC warrior though, somebody just linked them, feel free to buy them. Just know that you're not going to be having those on live.
2v1. You can 2v1 dreadnoughts, 3v1 dreadnoughts if you're smart with implants and fittings on CC.
Yeah. But we don't worry about that because the times when you will actually be having a honorable 1v1 dreadnought combat brawl are extremely, extremely rare. Most likely, you're going to be dropping with multiple other dreadnoughts, fighting multiple other dreadnoughts and carriers, or potentially supers. And you're going to be bubbled, and when you die, your pod's not getting out because it's going to get killed by smart bombs or that random newbie who's like, "There's pods. I'm going to help people pod express back home." So, I'd go cheap on the implants. I don't know anybody who goes crazy expensive on implants except those who like literally have so much money that they just don't even care anymore. So back to fitting stuff. One thing I've noticed is that there's been a couple cap losses recently that haven't had like damage controls and stuff like that on them. Never, ever, ever. Well, or rigs. Rigs, I can kind of almost get rigs. Rigs can be a bit expensive, and if you're like, no, you're gonna die anyways, really you should have rigs on though. I mean, even if you're gonna suicide drop, yeah, you can fit T2 Trimarks with a metastasis if you want to super CC warrior it. But for a capital ship, never, ever, 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 ever take your damage control off ever, period. There is literally zero reason to ever do it. Every single time anyone has ever tried to justify it, they just make themselves sound very dumb. The reason is because if you look at your ship and you look at your defenses, you know, when you open up your fitting, you know, you'll see that you have a lot of structure HP. Like, I'm just looking at this Naglfar. I have almost as much structure HP as I have armor HP. So you turn that damage control on, and, you know, you're getting probably another 30 to 40% EHP on your ship. That's a big deal. So never ever take your damage control off. Even if you're, like, full cap fit, don't take it off. This is the same on Archons, too, by the way. Even if you're, like, full cap fit, don't take it off. Even if you're travel fit, don't take it off. Even if you're like, I need to do as much DPS as I possibly can, don't take it off. Okay? Pretend that it's like, literally you can't take it off and it's a part of your ship, and taking it off would make you explode, because taking it off will make you explode. Alright. Questions, comments, concerns, guys? Okay, I'm gonna answer the one that somebody linked or asked in Fleet Chat then. Okay, that's fine, Jim. So, okay, Mr. Etkyo, you need to be very, very careful queuing up your mic because it's loud and annoying, and you were queuing it up while you were talking. So, careful with that. Why pack 7 stabs and power relays when you can only fit 6 plus a DCU? Basically what Marathon has said. Extra power relays, if you need to cap up in a POS, that's what it's for. That's the only time I'd ever feel comfortable taking off a DCU, because then you're basically safe. It does happen. And yeah, for the warp core stabs, I mean, like, people, you're joking about it. That can happen. Like,
I'd save my dread in case space in live with stabs, so don't joke.
yeah, like having the ability to put that extra stab on might matter. But, yeah. And yeah, if you're worried about that 1 million extra and you're flying a dread, you got some other issues going, buddy. Because you're already flying a ridiculously expensive ship. Relatively speaking. Other thing to say, always insure. Always insure your caps, because if you'll notice, if you go to insure your cap right now, it's the weird little shield around your ship icon. They change it. It's really annoying. It's really expensive to insure, but you get 2.3 to 2.5 billion ISK back.
Just kidding, they changed it.
No?
It says 1.9 right there.
You're flying a Rev, aren't you?
The nag.
Really?
Yep.
Because mine says 2.275.
Oh, same on my Morris.
Well, this is a Justice Edition.
Ah, okay. So if he's using a Justice Edition, which is the super cool skinned ships, apparently they get less SRP.
Please change it.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yep.
So if you guys use a skinned Naglfar or Revelation or Moros, you're going to get less money back from it.
Oh shit.
Today I learned. Yeah.
That's shitty. That's really shitty.
Also you'll get shot first, so
Yeah.
Mit Recht.
That is the price of justice.
BBP.
That is the price of justice.
Alright, well, hey. See, I told you no matter what, we'd learn something today, even if you've heard everything else before. Cool. So, for carrier pilots, I'm sorry I've been talking about dreads like almost all of this, but carrier fitting is pretty easy compared to dread stuff. Slow cats, which is basically what you're going to be using like 90% of the time. I'll talk about triage in a bit though. It's pretty common. Like the fits that slow cats use are kind of standard. There are some slight people, like there's a little bit of contention where it's like, well, no, you should fit it like this, but it's basically like the difference between do you fit a second enam or do you fit a reactive armor hardener, and that's like literally it. Dreadnoughts, there's a lot of different contention about how to fit them and how not to fit them. The one I'm giving is basically a super duper basic, like, hey, I just dropped in, we need to be out in 5 minutes, we got our cap boosters so we can get the hell out of here as soon as we're done. That's what it's for. Okay, cool. So, mid-slots on... So, you guys have a shitload of mods. As I said earlier, and people have been making comment, why do I have so many extra? Well, you will almost never, ever, ever drop dreads unsupported without at least one refit carrier. What this means is you can actually refit your ship in space, if you guys didn't know that. It's pretty cool. The main fits you're going to do is you're either going to go more damage, which basically means you drop your enams for more mag stabs, or heat sinks, or gyro stabilizers, depending on what ship you are. Or you're going to go more tank, which means you drop your damage mods for tank mods. I know, pretty simple, not exactly mind-blowing stuff here. In general, for, let's say, a Naglfar, when you're going tank, most likely what you're going to do is you're going to want to put either kinetic, explosive thermic hardener, 1 enam, damage control, and then you keep your repper on, obviously. Or you want to go double enam, kinetic, explosive hardener. Those are kind of the two possible options for it. Should put a mobile cynosural inhibitor. That's a good idea, actually. Good call. I will edit that later if you remind me. Morris's, basically you drop your mag stabs, throw on hardeners. Don't throw on more enams. I have actually seen somebody who died with 4 enams on. Stacking penalties are a thing, and it doesn't do anything for you. So please don't be that guy. Just throw on hardeners. Go in order. So let's say you have a big explosive resist hole. Do the explosive first, then the kinetic, then the thermic, then the EM. Revelations are lucky. One of the nice things about them is they can get like absurd amounts of tanks because they're number of low slots. So you can actually do one of each hardener, 2 enams, a DCU, and a rep on them. And they are extraordinarily tanky. People like to give Revelations a lot of shit. I know I used to give them a lot of shit because I used to live in wormholes where they actually were pretty bad. In nullsec, they are probably one of, if not the best dreads. Enam, Energized Adaptive Nanomembrane, sorry about that. Those things that I just linked. Revelations are probably one of the best dreads in nullsec. just because of the combination of AFK bashing ops, which is actually a really big deal. They also do more application versus posses, which is one of the most important things dreads do in nullsec. I know it's super boring and shitty, but bashing posses is like the #1 dread op ever. The reason why they're so good at it is because everybody else, their optimal range is about 20 km. Revelations with optimal range scripts and multi-frequency, their optimal range is about 28 to 30 km, so they actually apply more damage even if their paper DPS is less. Unless it's an Amar Pass, I think. Is it Amar? It's Mimitar. I don't remember. One of them has resistances versus EM Thermal, in which case they're terrible. That's why, in my personal opinion, the second best dread is the Naglfar, because multiple damage types makes it really, really good at pos bashing and killing capitals, and it has the best tracking. So, however, one thing about the Net Revelation is that its special skin, the Serum Revelation, is so good looking. I mean, look at that thing. It's so pretty, except on my screen because I have the dynamic lighting thing turned off. So, yeah, you got that going for you too. You're super cool looking, and you get primaried off field and get less insurance apparently, because that's a thing.
You got a paper style.
Yeah. Oh, hold on a second. Poking my Titan guy. Apparently he's back. Cool. So he's going to be setting up Mumble, so once he gets on, we'll probably undock and he'll DDS and it'll be fun. Archons do not have a skin, it's just dreads only right now, guys. Sorry about that. Poor slow cats. They don't even get talked about a bunch by me. CCP obviously doesn't care about them. I think that there are Archon skins out there, they just haven't actually put them in game yet. It'd be really cool if there's like a Blood Raiders Archon. Cool, so I'm going to really quickly talk about just the basic ship classes, or the different types of carriers and dreads, since we're sort of on that right now. And then, after that, we'll finally undock and start doing stuff. So, sorry it took so long. I did warn you guys. So for carriers, I'm going to start back there. There's one of each race. You know, we have Galente, Minmatar, Mar, and Caldari. Wow, right? Crazy stuff. For the carriers, for fleet purposes, we're talking slow cats. This is what you're going to be using the vast majority of time in Brave. The Archon is really the only acceptable one. The reason is because the Archon has this extremely huge advantage over every other dread, or carrier, which is that it has the ability, first off, it has more low slots than every other one. It has the 4% bonus to all armor resistance, which that's effectively another low slot tank mod, which is really, really good. It's an armor ship, and most caps are armor based. It's just how it is, and most super caps are armor based. There's a myriad of reasons for that. I'm not going to go into them. We're going to work with the assumption, like, this is when you go into, think of it as like when you go into like a biology class, and the professor opens up by saying, we're going to make the assumption that evolution is 100% real, and I don't want anyone arguing it no matter what. We're going to make the assumption that armor supercaps are better than everything, and I don't want anyone arguing it no matter what, okay? Because I don't want to get into that debate. We're just going to pretend we live in a world where everybody agrees that armor supercaps are better, okay? If you are Russian, you are allowed to fly shield supers. That's the only other way. So, basically, the Archon gets the extra tank bonus, but the biggest thing, and this is the thing that nobody actually talks about, the Archon actually has about 30% more capacitor than the other carriers do. I don't know why. CCP literally made the Archon have more capacitor, and therefore it's better at basically everything than every other carrier in the game. This isn't me saying the Archon has better cap. This is me saying the Archon legitimately has in-game stats that make its capacitor better. I think what the reason was is because they made, back in the day, they were like, oh, it's an Omar ship, so Omar has to have bigger default cap, which everybody's saying right now. But Archons don't shoot lasers, guys. They fly around like little waffles or French toasts. It's weird.
Icelandic logic.
Yeah, so there you go. This is something, by the way, that CCP has like been being told to change and has known about for like 6 or 7 years. I don't expect it to change anytime soon because it hasn't changed yet. So, right there you go. Now you know why Archons are better than everything else. Because they have better capacitor. The sort of standard debate that people like to get into is Chimeras versus Archons. Not going to get into it. If you're in Test or you want to fly with Test fleets, get a Chimera. If you're in Brave and you want to fly with Brave fleets, get an Archon. If you have all of your Archon skills trained really, really well, and you have all your fighter skills and all your drone skills, I would suggest cross-training into Chimera and getting shield skills up, because that way you can fly on both. If you're defending a shield timer, being able to drop a really good blob of slow cat Chimeras is amazing, because that way you can rep posses and stuff like that. The only other carrier besides Chimeras and Archons that I'm going to talk about is Nidhoggers. Pretend Thanatoses don't exist. Thanatoses is a ratting ship and a ganking ship, and for fighter assigning. It's not for fleets, okay? If you fly a Thanatos, you're going to be dead probably within about 30 seconds. It's going to primary you and you're going to die. So, Nidhoggers have this bonus to... They're the only carrier that has a bonus to actual amount repped, or amount shield boosted. So, for doing things like suicide triage in very rare situations, wormhole space is one of the main ones, which I said I wasn't going to talk about, but there's my little sort of semi-wormhole space talk about. They're amazing for POS repping because they rep 25% faster, and that makes a pretty damn big deal. So, Nidhogger pilots, do not fear. Just go train into triage, because that's what your job is going to be. Now, with carriers, since I'm on the triage subject, don't worry, I do have a list of stuff. I'm not just totally rambling him a little bit. Triage for a carrier makes it so you cannot receive outside assistance. You can also not be E-ward except by newts, because energy neutralizing is apparently not E-war, even though it's classified as E-war. Thanks, CCP. What it does is it makes it so you rep yourself 4 times better, and you rep other people 4 times better. So it turns you into a super powerful logistics ship that cannot be repped by anyone else. If you're interested in triage, it's about... Triage 1 is absolutely useful. Triage 2 is better, but Triage 1 is still quite good. If you're interested in triaging and you're a slow cap pilot right now and you have all the other skills, it's about somewhere between 1 month to 3 months additional training. You have to have perfect capacitor skills. So every single thing that's about capacitor you need to get at level 5, and you don't really need that for level 4. You have to have Logi 5. It's actually mandatory. You cannot actually fit a triage module without Logi 5. So there you go. You also need to have the carrier to at least 4